The 2000s, the decade of flip phones, MySpace, and questionable design choices. Automakers were chasing the future, new tech, weird styling, and global cars that promised efficiency and innovation. Instead, what we got were ugly shapes, failing startups, cheap plastics, and bankrupt dreams. Today, we're looking back at the top 10 worst cars of the 2000s, the disasters that defined the era when cars tried to be futuristic and just ended up embarrassing. Num 10. 2001 Pontiac Aztec. You knew this one was coming. The Pontiac Aztec wasn't just bad, it was a pop culture punchline. Pontiac marketed it as a lifestyle SUV for adventurous young buyers, complete with an optional camping tent that attached to the back. The problem? It looked like a science experiment gone wrong. The split headlights, awkward angles, and clunky proportions made it one of the most mocked designs in automotive history. Underneath, it was just a minivan chassis in disguise. The interior felt cheap, visibility was poor, and reliability was typical early 2000s GM, transmissions failing, electrical gremlins, and plastic panels fading in the sun. It became iconic only because of Breaking Bad. Walter White's sad, beige Aztec summed up its entire personality: dull, depressing, and hard to love. Num 9. 2007 Chrysler Sebring. If you thought the 90s Sebring was bad, wait till you see what Chrysler did in the 2000s. The 2007 Sebring was Chrysler's idea of modern elegance. But with its odd-ribbed hood, droopy headlights, and fake luxury interior, it looked and drove like a rental car designed by committee. Its 2.7-liter V6 engine was notorious for sludge buildup that destroyed engines under 80,000 miles. The transmission lagged, the suspension floated, and the interior plastic squeaked before you left the lot. Reviewers were brutal. Car and Driver called it a car for people who have given up. By 2009, Chrysler filed for bankruptcy, and the Sebring became the poster child for why. Num 8. 2002 Fiat Multipla. The Fiat Multipla might be one of the ugliest vehicles ever made, and somehow, it was designed on purpose. The double-tier headlights made it look like a frog wearing glasses, and its short, wide stance gave it the proportions of a bread loaf. Inside, Fiat tried to make it clever, with 6 seats and a wide dash, but it ended up cramped, noisy, and cheaply built. Electrical problems were constant, and the diesel engines were as temperamental as the Italian economy. British TV shows like Top Gear roasted it endlessly. Even Jeremy Clarkson said, "It's the only car that makes you embarrassed to drive at night, in case someone sees you." It was supposed to redefine the family car. Instead, it redefined ugly. Num 7. 2001 Daewoo Lanos. Before GM bought Daewoo, the Korean automaker tried to conquer the US with ultra-cheap cars like the Lanos and Nubira. The 2001 Lanos was tiny, underpowered, and built with materials that felt like recycled soda bottles. Its 1.6-liter engine wheezed at highway speeds, and crash safety was a nightmare. In one European test, the dummy's head almost went through the windshield. When Daewoo went bankrupt in 2002, owners couldn't even find parts or warranty support. Dealerships closed overnight. The Lanos became the car nobody could fix, resell, or even scrap for value. It was less of a vehicle and more of a cautionary tale about globalization gone wrong. Num 6. 2004 Chevrolet Malibu Maxx. The Malibu Maxx was supposed to be GM's smart family car of the future, a mix between a wagon, hatchback, and sedan. Instead, it became a confused, boring lump of metal that looked like it was melting. Its design screamed rental fleet, the rear seat plastics cracked easily, and the 3.5L V6 offered performance that was anything but exciting. Chevrolet tried to market its rear sunroof and sliding seats as innovative, but nobody cared. Within a few years, the Maxx quietly disappeared from showrooms, remembered only by ex-owners complaining about power steering failures and leaky head gaskets. The Malibu name survived, but the Maxx became a symbol of how not to design a family car. Num 5. 2006 Hummer H3. The original Hummer H1 was a beast, military tough and intimidating. Then GM decided to make a smaller version for everyday drivers. The result was the Hummer H3, a 5,000-pound SUV with the heart of a rental truck. Powered by a weak 3.5-litre inline-5 engine, it struggled to move its own weight. Fuel economy hovered around 13 miles per gallon, visibility was awful, and the interior felt like a plastic cave. The off-road image was a joke. It had the ground clearance of a family sedan and got stuck in snow more often than minivans. By the time Hummer went bankrupt in 2010, the H3 had already become the symbol of everything wrong with oversized, underbuilt American SUVs. Number 4. 2003 Saturn Ion. Saturn started in the 1990s as GM's different kind of car company. By the 2000s, it was just bad. The Ion replaced the beloved S-Series with a weird plastic-bodied compact that nobody asked for. Its steering felt vague, the doors rattled, and the center-mounted instrument cluster confused everyone. The quad-coupe version tried to be sporty, but its 140-horsepower Ecotec engine sounded like a blender at full speed. Interior plastics were brittle, and reliability was among the worst in its class. When Saturn folded in 2010, the Ion's failure was one of the main reasons. It proved that GM couldn't save a brand by rebadging mediocrity. Number 3. 2008 Smart Fortwo. The Smart Fortwo looked cute and European when it landed in the US. But once Americans drove it, they realized tiny isn't always smart. Its 1.0-litre 3-cylinder engine sounded like a weed eater, and the jerky automated manual transmission made every gear change feel like a headbutt. On the highway, crosswinds could literally push it out of its lane, and crash tests showed horrifying results against larger vehicles. Fuel economy wasn't even that impressive, averaging around 36 miles per gallon, barely better than a Honda Civic. The Fortwo was marketed as the future of urban driving, but it became a meme instead. By the 2010s, Smart left the US entirely. Few were sad to see it go. Number 2. 2006 Chery QQ. The 2000s saw the first wave of Chinese automakers trying to break into global markets. Leading the charge was Chery, with its tiny hatchback, the Chery QQ. It was basically a Chevrolet Spark clone, except built with zero quality control. Everything rattled. The brakes failed in road tests. The metal was so thin that crash safety testers compared it to a soda can on wheels. China's domestic buyers called it cute. Western reviewers called it suicidal. Chery got sued by GM for copying the Spark, but it didn't matter, the damage was done. The QQ symbolized early Chinese car making, cheap, unsafe, and completely unfit for export. Number 1. 2001 Pontiac Aztec. Yes, we're putting the Aztec at number 1 again, because no other car better represents how the 2000s went off the rails. It wasn't just ugly, it was the death rattle of Pontiac. The Aztec was GM's attempt to build an adventure vehicle for Gen X. But between the marketing failure, the ugly face, and the poor quality, it became the ultimate flop. Within 5 years, it helped tank Pontiac's reputation and set the stage for the brand's death in 2010. The Aztec is the perfect metaphor for the 2000s, big promises, weird design, and no sense of reality. It might have cult fans now, but in its day, it was automotive purgatory. If you enjoyed this ride through the wreckage of the 2000s, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. White right pointing backhand index. Which car from the 2000s do you think deserves to be forgotten forever? Thanks for watching, and remember, in the 2000s, ugly was the new normal.